It's okay. I couldn't wrap Christmas presents either. What'd you say? So they can't wrap Christmas presents either. Come inside. I'll set them down, and then I'll go behind you, and then I'll lift it up so then you can kind of straighten it out. Yeah. We got it in there. A little harder. Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back. We are prepping for our concrete footer today by laying some plastic down as a vapor barrier. As you can see, we're lifting up the rebar that was already placed prior. My dad got a head start on that. So it's all pre-bent. I mean, the easy part is we only have 3 bends in each corner. We're running 3 number 5 rebar in the bottom, and the verticals will also be number 5s at every 4 feet. So we're stapling the vapor barrier to the forms, understanding there will be a little bit of tearing when it comes out, but knowing that it will also act as a release agent for our forms. A little mistake we made, we adjusted the width of the footer with structural after we already had the entire trench dug, so our forms are really tight along the wood, and it probably would have been easier just to use the dirt forms instead of putting the wood in there, but we kind of already committed at this point, so it's looking pretty good at this juncture. And we're going to be putting in all of our rebar chairs here, and then our verticals, and doing all our rebar ties to tie everything together. Just like that rib is like on a 45. That one's broken. That one's it doesn't have an edge to go into.
Well, if it wasn't broken before, it is now.
No, there was just nothing on the left side. I have a feeling this one's gonna fight me.
The other one's gonna come on.
Yeah. I should have started with this one and that one. I guess. I'm learning.
Well, this is the only side you're gonna do it on, because once you get it set up out there, it's gonna be right all the way around.
Hopefully. Shit. Sucks.
Well, no, you don't take the middle one out.
Yeah, we're leaving the middle one. This is the first time we are doing rebar, and so there's a lot of learning process here, and steps and which ones we should have done first. So as you can tell, we're learning and we're figuring it out as we go. Towards the end, we did figure it out and had a pretty good system, but this first leg definitely took a little bit longer than it would take somebody else. Oh, no. Here, just slide. Pull it that way. Just pull it all the way up.
Hold it up. I'll hit you in the face. going like this, you got to straighten it out.
Okay. You're right, I think. All right. You want to grab that end of it? No. I need a different hat here in a minute. All right, gotta come my way. Just a little bit. Oh, I got it. Too much, but the corner is much better.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to bend it like here,
Okay.
and then
Just
just
put back.
like, yeah, because that corner's good. We just gotta come up a little bit.
Okay.
Let's give that a shot. Yep. Just, I got it.
Fingertips.
That looks better to me. What do you think?
Yeah. That little bit that's off, you tie that wire on there, it'll straighten it out.
Yeah. I guess these are trash.
Yeah, you can.
Probably one-time use.
Yep.
We'll worry about you in a minute. Do you think that's good around the corner? You think if I leave that, like leave this one here and leave that one there? Or do you think I should slide that one down further?
Either that or you need another one on this at this corner.
Mirror the corner?
Yeah, like this one is.
Yeah.
Just to support that. I think it's gonna bounce all over.
Alright.
A good one or a broken one?
A good one for this one. Holy sheep, mate.
Oops. Sorry, Pop.
Good place to stand, buddy. I want to get in the hole.
And said you bend them like that, and you put them in. Bob's your uncle.
Oh, you shit.
Huh? It's easier if you get them on top of each other, but
The bars.
they go in the chairs like that.
Once we make it through the first corner here, we start cruising pretty good. It was just, there's 3 bars trying to make a turn, and so they all have to be at different radii, to make the corner. So you can see the chairs that are sitting there, they hold it perfectly spaced. So when they're in straight runs, they click together pretty easy. But when they're on a corner, the radius of each concentric bend has to be almost perfect for it to line up. So that's what we were fighting with the first corner. And we started to figure it out on the second corner. Still fought us a little bit, but we were a little bit more prepared, understanding what was going on. Yeah, we have Jack here doing good construction puppy things, making sure we're staying on track, on schedule, barking at the neighbor dogs per usual. Here we're moving on to placing the verticals, and we also have the bends that tie into the horizontals. So every 4 feet, we have a horizontal tying the 3 bars together. And at that 4 foot mark, we also have a 90-degree tying the horizontals to the vertical. So just making sure all of our rebar is tied together throughout the system. So we also cut the rebar a foot longer to go into the ground, so they kind of self-supported, and then the ties were really just keeping everything hung together until the concrete's poured. This was kind of difficult. As you can see here, I was just laying down on my chest to reach everything. I don't know if there's a better process, but this is what I found was most successful in being able to hold the vertical and keep it close enough where I'm not breaking rebar ties, because they have a yield of a very low number. So you can twist it 2 or 3 times, then on the fourth one it breaks, and then it loses all strength. So you have to start over. So that was another learning curve. Again, this is the first time we've done rebar, so the first run is always taking longer than the second and third. So it was, relatively simple process. You have my dad in the back cutting up the rebar to length, so that way I can just kind of move forward and get these things going. We also have our rebar caps here, so that way if anybody falls in, you're protected from the rebar itself at the top, the little orange caps there. So it was, it was a good learning experience. I'm glad we did this and saved money. We got kind of a ridiculous quote to do the footer. And so this is kind of the moral of this entire story. We were quoted everything pretty high, and we felt like we had enough knowledge to at least move forward. We had some help from some friends who had building experience who came over and were able to do the work with us for a variety of reasons, but were giving us enough help and direction where we could kind of move forward together. And yeah, I think overall it turned out good. You can see all the pre-cut pieces that my dad has here on the left, so that way we can just start tying them together and move along. And this process did go relatively quickly, definitely quicker than the initial bending and tying together and clipping into all of the chairs that the horizontals went. So it was, yeah, I think overall we got compliments from the inspector and the concrete pump guys. So that was a good feeling for our first time here. One of the key things that we had to focus on with the verticals is making sure that these course out, because these need to land in the center of the block. So it was super critical that, one, the corner was in the right spot, which you can see it's bent out a little bit here, but generally speaking, the bottom, the base is in the right spot, so we can just straighten that up, which we do later, and it's straighter for when we pour concrete. But making sure that the rest of the verticals land on a course was something that we were double, triply checking, because it does and could cause issues in the future. When we get to laying block, we had a couple that found their way either a little bit too close to the inside or close to the outside. So just something we were really trying to keep track of. And I think on the front here we did a really good job. I don't think we had any issues on there. So time well spent on the front. I think we probably could have done a little bit better on the first leg, but like I said, we were learning on the first one and then implementing everything we learned on the front here and the other side. So on concrete day, we had this pump truck show up, which it's really just a trailer that's pulled behind a truck, and then our by-the-yard concrete truck pull up, and they kind of block the road for us on the side street, and was all very hectic. So I'm trying to set up the lines with the pump truck, get that set up, coordinate where the concrete truck is going to park, and etc. So this was all very chaotic. Didn't have time to, double check cameras and things like that. So luckily, the guy that brought the pump truck was super helpful because we're supposed to have a concrete pouring team, I guess. Again, this is my first time doing this, so we learned that as we got there. We got all the things set up. He was super awesome, helped us pour everything, make sure we were level. So first we pour our little footers that we have back here for our beam, and then the whole footer, and you'll see some unfortunate things happen here towards the end. But overall, it was very successful, and super grateful for this guy helping us out. So after everybody left and the dust kind of settled, this is what it looks like fresh out of the pump. So definitely some rough ridges on here, which my dad is going to come through and flatten out. But overall very successful. Great consistency, and it was such a fast process. We probably had it pumped in 20-30 minutes, and everybody was in and out, so it was good. And you can see my dad here smoothing things out. Obviously not super smooth because we still want to have something to bite onto for the CMU foundation wall, but still want it to be a regular surface and not having super big inconsistencies. And we also want to make sure that it is at the right height, which the top of the forms are set. So I think that would have been the only challenge if we went with a dirt form, because the footer is so low in the overall elevation of the ground. So it would have been really hard to regulate the height, which was kind of difficult on the interior footers, but overall we kind of nailed it and got really lucky on the inside. So the footer foundation was critical for all of that. So, like I said in the beginning, by the time we got our width right, we kind of maxed that out, but I think it helped us regulate our overall height and just made that process way easier to have a good base for that foundation wall. So we'll just have to wait for this to cure a couple weeks here, and then we can lay some block. But until then, we're going to work on the existing house and replace some termite damage and prep for the floor joist. But here's our finished product, and I think it turned out really well.